What's going on, all you big dogs, coffee connoisseurs, alligator wranglers? Friends, what's good? Welcome to episode 20, man. We made it. This is called In Good Company with our good friend, Nelson Candelario. In here, we're sitting down in sunny Oceanside and we're just chit-chatting about what it means to surround yourself with a positive environment and a positive peer support group. I'm having trouble even explaining it, and I was the one there. I'll let him do it. He does a way better job at it. But this is it, man. This is episode 20, and if you guys can do me a solid favor, please go to Apple Podcasts, leave a furthest right-hand star review that you feel that I deserve. Please share this episode with a close friend and an ally. And if you feel the need or call to support this show financially, please go to my Patreon page. Contribute whatever you can. It's all welcome and it's all really appreciated. And everybody who has contributed thus far, I sincerely appreciate you guys for breathing fire into my dream of being a podcaster, of doing this for a living. So I know it's slow. I know you guys want me to put out more, but I'm doing my best. All right, guys. Put your hands together. Honk your horns. Hit the flashers. Shout from the rooftops. And welcome Mr. Nelson Candelario. Hey, yo, maestro, wake up. You know what to do.
Now, here's your host, the one and only Julian Torres.
What's going on, baby?
What's up, dog?
Dude, how you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. Good to be here with you, man.
Thanks, big dog. So yeah, man. If you could, in your own words, man, like I don't want to be the one to introduce you.
Yes,
You know what I mean? Tell us who you are, man. Where you come from, dude, and yeah, dude.
Yeah, man. So obviously, my name is Nelson Candelario, and the big reason I'm here with you is because I've been a United States Marine for almost 19 years now, man. Started active duty. I was commissioned as second lieutenant in 2004.
Wow.
I know, man. And and then did 15 years on active duty, and then the last 3, almost 4, as a reservist, and still in the reserves, part-time hooking and jabbing, but still into it. And just chilling down here in beautiful Oceanside, man.
Yeah, man. And this is Oceanside living, dude. I mean, we're in a screened-in porch. Excuse the cars, but it's a beautiful day. Excuse the car noises, the traffic noises a little bit, but we couldn't pass this.
No,
up,
man.
Dude. This is the bee's knees right here, dog.
You can't beat this, man. You can't beat this.
Dude. But yeah, man, dude. So in 2004, like, how did you? So you're commissioned.
Yeah.
And what made you go into a little? Well, let's start. Like, what made you join the Marine Corps?
Oh man, bro, I got a great story to tell you about this, and any Marine will understand this because it's typical Marine behavior, very calculated, but it worked on me like a charm. So, little background, right? I'm a first-generation American. So my parents are both from the Dominican Republic. No military history, no nothing. No one's been in the military in my family. So
Not even back home?
Not even back home. My parents came here. They immigrated to the States when they were super young. They got married. My dad was 21. My mom was 18. And they immigrated here via Puerto Rico. Like, I think my dad was 23 when they did. And just my dad was working at a factory, and my mom was working for the Dominican consulate in a diplomatic capacity, but really just mostly blue collar stuff, right? And it spent the rest of the time here in the U.S., but realistically speaking, really didn't even need to speak English. I mean, I grew up in North Jersey, bro, and you're better off knowing Spanish in North Jersey than you are English, to be honest, in many areas. So my parents, still to this day, man, they're both American citizens now. But to this day, my mom's English is all right, but my dad, he's hand and arm signals when he comes over here. Yeah, when he comes to talk to my wife, it's all.
Did he like refuse to learn, or is it just real hard for him to learn?
He has enough to get by, right? Mm-hmm. So if he has to go somewhere, go shopping, goes on a trip, he's good. You can understand him, but there's just wasn't a need, man. Even to this day, if you go, I grew up in Jersey, like I said, but my dad spent most of his almost 50 some years here in the U.S. in North Jersey, where hardly anyone speaks only English, man. Everyone speaks Spanish. It's just a hodgepodge of Latin American countries there. Yeah, a lot of Latin American immigrants there. So just wasn't a need, to be honest. Just didn't have a need to pick it up.
So did your parents have family already over here?
They had some, but it was mostly kind of like your traditional what you hear, right? Just gotta go do something better and hope for the best. So it was honestly my mom and my dad who brought all their siblings over here. They were the first ones to venture out, man. And my dad was one of 11 kids, and my mom one of 7.
No.
So it was like a whole crew. But yeah, they were the first ones to venture out, and just trying to live a better life. It's kind of stuff you hear.
The typical, yeah.
Yeah. So in any event, when I was growing up, I was always arguing. And in retrospect, I realize, and you can probably empathize here, is that's just typical Hispanic kid behavior. Just always have something to say.
Always got something to say.
But at the time, it was very much embraced by my family. And ever since I was I don't know, as long as I can remember, you're going to be a lawyer, always have something to say, always arguing. So in my head, it was always in my head I was going to be a lawyer.
They planted the seed.
Yes, always. Never a doubt. But when I was a junior in college, I was like, man, I really don't want to spend my life behind a desk. And even if you're a trial attorney, you spend most of your time preparing for trial, right? So you're spending most of your time grinding in the books, reading, writing, etc. So my now mother-in-law, but at the time it was my girlfriend's mom in college, she just mentioned, hey, you ever think about the military? And I was like, no.
Really? So
Yep.
This is like 2002?
2002.
Okay, so 2002. So this is like 9/11 just happened.
Yes. And I knew I wanted to serve, right? So I was like, I don't want to be behind a desk, and I think I'm going to try and go into federal law enforcement. So I was applying to federal law enforcement job. But I hadn't thought about the military, and my mother-in-law said, you ever think about it? And I was like, no, I haven't. So I'm like, all right, that sounds cool. Let me see what's what. So I start doing some research, and I look at all the branches, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna try and go in as a lawyer and see. And I check them all out, and I get to the Marine Corps, and I see the dress blues, and I'm like, oh man, it's over, right? They got me. So check this out, right? I lived in South Jersey. The closest OSO, the closest officer selection office, was about an hour from where I lived.
And you knew you wanted to be an officer.
I knew that because I was graduating college, and I didn't know I wanted to be an officer. I didn't know the difference. So let me back up because this is critical. You're right. I went to my local recruiter, Staff Sergeant Cruz. I'll never forget him.
So this is like the standard armed service.
I don't know shit. Can I curse on this thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
sorry. Man. I don't know shit about shit. I walk in, and Staff Sergeant Cruz, I'll never forget him, and I stayed in touch with him for many, many years after I went into the Marine Corps, because not many recruiters would do this. I'm gonna tell you what he did. So I go in. I'm like, hey, I want to join. All right. I saw it. I'm all in. He's like, okay, cool. Start filling out the paperwork, all that stuff. He starts asking me about my education. I'm like, I'm about to graduate college. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm graduating.
On my own?
Yeah. And no, well, he meant like, what do you mean when? I'm like, oh, in like a couple months. Because I was a senior at that time. And he's like, you graduating college in a couple months? Have you spoken to an OSO? I was like, I don't know what that is. What's that? Now, What do you think most recruiters would have done there?
Well, most recruiters in 2023 would be like, "Oh, just come here."
I think that's the case back then, bro.
Even in 2002?
I think so, man. Most people I heard, like most people I've talked to that went straight enlisted with a degree because the recruiter got him. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, but he did it. I mean, Staff Sergeant Cruz kept it real. It was like, listen, go talk to an OSO, and then after you talk to the OSO, if you still want to go enlisted, once you understand the differences, come back. I got you.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So he hooked it up.
Dude, do me a quick favor and like just move the mic to where it's like right here, like lined up with you. So like,
Tell me where.
like
Boom, right there.
yeah.
Okay. So, and I walk in, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna hook you up. I'll call the OSO and set up an appointment. So, at that point, he sets up the appointment, and it's like a month out. So in the meantime, I go and I talk to folks from the Navy, from the Air Force, and bro, it honestly felt, no joke, like a bit of what I would imagine. I played sports growing up, but I was never good enough to be recruited for anything. But this is what I would imagine it would have felt like to be recruited for a sports team, because look, I'm Hispanic, skin color, I'm black, right? And I was coming in as a lawyer, so I felt like
Unicorn.
yeah, I mean, no joke. That's what the way the recruiters made me feel. Like I am walking through the Navy, the Air Force, and they're like, yeah, come on in. They're stoked to have me, right? So my head was a little big going to the Marine Corps interview, and this is critical. All right, so like I told you, the OSO was an hour away from where I live. So I drive up there, and I show up, and I had on jeans, a T-shirt, an Abercrombie T-shirt, okay? I remember this distinctly, and a ripped Structure hat. You remember Structure? It used to be like a clothing store when we were younger. They don't make it anymore. It's like old school clothing store. And it was one of these stupid hats. This thing used to be cool when I was a kid, where it was purposely frayed. Yeah. Okay.
It's like a Von Dutch type deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So I walk in with this. I walk into the OSO's office. And as soon as I walk up, there is, I'll never forget her, man, Staff Sergeant Patterson. All right. So she's there doing some paperwork, some nonsense. I walk in. She looks up. Can I help you? And I said,
Was she kind of like annoyed? Like
she looked like she was all business. She wasn't high-fiving or anything. And I said, but I'm a college kid, and a college kid who just been recruited hard by the other branches. So I walk in, I'm like, yeah, lackadaisical as hell, no formality, no nothing. Yeah, I'm here for an appointment to be a Marine officer. And she puts her pen down, stands up. She's like, she looks at me, no joke, man, looks up and down, looks me up and down, says, you want to be a Marine officer? And I'm like, yeah. Just like, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking,
that's what I just said.
That's what I just said. Exactly. I just walked in here.
Yeah. Do you speak English, man?
Yeah. I'm like, I'm looking at her. Are you deaf? What's the deal? So she goes, she doesn't respond to that. And she just looks at me for one more second. I'm like, what's up with this lady? Is she good? And she goes, slow as hell, like just like this. What? Do you think you are special?
Wow.
And I go, excuse me? She did it again, just like that again. And I go, well, no, what do you mean? I don't know. And she goes, all right, because I'm going to tell you right now, you are not. You are not special. Wow. Do you think it's special that you get graduated from college? You know that every officer graduates from college. And I didn't know. I didn't know anything. I'm like, no. She's like, you show up here for an appointment looking like you do, then clearly you think you're special.
Dang. So she asked you a question. She already knew the answer.
She already knew the answer, bro. She's setting me up. Now, mind you, I haven't even said my name, dog. Yeah. I just walked in. So I'm blown away. And at first I'm like, what the hell? You know? But I'm like, so she's got me sucked in. Like, I don't know why. In retrospect, I didn't know why I didn't just say, F this, I'm out. But I did it. She's got me there, sucked in. And then she's like, all right, if you actually want to try and become or begin the process, then you need to go back and change, go put on khakis and a polo shirt and come back. I'm like, I live an hour away. And she's like, you know what she says? She goes, well, then you better get going. Bro, so I'm like, I'm not driving all the way back there. She's like, she goes, okay, look, let me tell you something. I think maybe this is not the place for you. Let's go. I got the Navy and the Air Force recruiters. They're right here. I'm going to walk you over there. I'll set you up. You'll be good to go. And I'm like, wait, no. I already talked to them. I'm here to talk to you. And she's like, well, clearly you're not.
Yeah.
Because I just told you what you needed to do, and you're telling me you can't do it. Right.
Yeah.
Bro,
Wow.
So I leave hot. I'm hot as hell. I leave. I get in my car. I'm cursing this lady out. And it's an hour drive. And it's in the beginning of the hour drive, I'm mad as hell. Towards the end, towards the middle, I'm like, who the hell does she think she is? But I'm trying to calm down. Towards the end, man, they got me. I didn't want to go nowhere else except the Marine Corps.
Wow.
And in retrospect, that's very purposeful, right? You know, as a Marine, that's the organization prides itself on that entire persona in the sense that your reward is that you get to be a Marine. And here's the kicker of all this, Julian. And when I tell people this, man, they lose their mind. So every single other service, bro, you get money to join if you're a lawyer. You get student loan bonuses. I don't know if it's like that. I'm assuming it's still the same, but certainly was when I was there.
Yeah.
Everyone else said, I had a ton of student loan. Every other recruiter I went to was like, you'll get X. I remember the Navy said I would get $65,000 towards my student loan.
That's a big.
Yeah, it's big. You don't know how much the Marine Corps give me?
Nothing.
0.
Wow.
Nothing.
Dang,
Nothing.
Dude.
So yeah, man.
Dude, like when I went, my grandpa was in the Army, so naturally I went to the Army first. And the guy's like slick back, used car salesman, kind of a little overweight.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, sir, yeah, we got a $20,000 signing bonus. And right away I was like, dude, like, why would you
Hit me with that right
yeah,
away.
right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need your blood money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I don't like, yo, dog, like, I don't need, you know, and then after I had like that experience, I went outside and I'm kind of like, what, you know, and then the Marine recruiter's there in his service Deltas. It's like on a Friday, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's smoking, it's like a Newport or a Cools or something like that, dude.
That's
and he's
about
like,
right.
And he's like, "What's up, man? Like, you know, who were you talking to?" And I was like, I was talking to this, you know, to the Army loser, you know. And he was just like, "Oh, dude, you know, what, you know, like how did it go?" And I was like, I'm not gonna go, you know. And he was like, "Well," started just chit chatting, dude. He's like, "You want a cigarette?" You know, like asked me how old I was. "You want a cigarette?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude." And boom, that's how I got me, dude.
Yeah.
Smoking a cigarette.
Smoking a cigarette.
This is it, dude.
I know it.
Yeah, just nonchalant, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Come on.
yeah, like I don't want you. You know what I mean? So,
That's the whole selling point, man.
yeah.
And it works. I mean, bro, that mentality stuck with me. I'm sure it's the same with you through my entire career, especially my active duty time.
Yeah.
It just stuck with me. Like, I just had an innate feeling of being better because I was a Marine.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think it was that way too because like I always knew that the Marine Corps was always trying to get rid of me.
Yeah.
I mean, not just me in particular, everybody.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And we'll definitely talk about that at some point, man.
You know
because
what
I
I
have
mean?
some
Like,
thoughts about that for sure.
Yeah, dude. But dude, I would like to go back just for a second
Yeah.
to your parents.
Mm-hmm.
What did they do when they first, as for like money wise? Like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, did they?
It was tough, man. You know, my dad had an 8th grade education, bro.
Wow.
Because he dropped out of school and started working
Mm-hmm.
when, I mean, he was the second oldest. So he had to start working and helping the family out real young. So he did a bunch of construction growing up. And when he came here, we knew one person, like my mom and my dad were the first ones to venture out really, but they did know one individual who happened to be in the construction business. So he got my dad some BS job.
Yeah.
But then shortly thereafter, my dad found a job at a factory that made all miscellaneous pieces. In fact, some of the pieces they made were like firing pins for the M16.
What?
Like, yeah, random stuff. Computer rollers. You know the rollers in the old school computers?
Yeah.
But, dude, my dad started working there, and he stayed there for 46 years, though.
Wow.
That's it. Worked in that factory day in, day out. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about my parents, man. Just hardworking people.
And was your mom at home? Like,
No, my mom was working throughout the whole time. My mom got her college degree while she got there, learned English better than my dad. My dad just kind of was blue collar guy. My mom learned English and can speak it pretty well. She's got an accent, right? But she speaks it fine. She's losing a little bit because she moved to Florida and nobody speaks South Florida. Nobody speaks English down there either, man. But she spoke it pretty well and went to school here and graduated with a psychology degree. She ultimately worked at Dominican consulate forever, though.
wow.
Yeah, and then transitioned to miscellaneous job, but she worked throughout my time.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
And who were you like closest to?
That's growing up. I'd have to say my mom. So first of all, my parents got divorced when I was like 10. But here's the deal, man. And this is a lesson, even though my wife and I have been married forever, and there's no shot she and I are going anywhere. But the thing I would say, and the advice I would give to anyone that's getting divorced, just based on my experience growing up, is if you make a concerted effort to never let your kid know that there's any disagreement, any conflict between you and your ex-spouse, it will have a monumentally positive effect on your child. My parents, I have no idea what kind of struggles they went through their divorce. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have a little bit of a better idea now that I'm older.
For sure.
But they never once badmouthed each other.
Or something?
Well, now we talked about it since. But they never once badmouthed each other in front of me or my brother. They never once said something negative about the other. Never one time. My dad, even though he divorced my mom, I never felt like he divorced my brother and I. Like, he was always there. Always there. We lived with my mom, and my dad was always there. Like, what do you need? School supplies. Come get us. Pick us up. Even when my mom left, she married my stepdad. My dad was always around, even when he got married.
So was it like he would show up at the house?
He would come pick us up.
Yeah.
He would come in. He would sit down and eat meals. And now I know, like, my mom and him were having issues, but she left him for my stepdad, who my mom and my stepdad have been together forever. And he would come in, and, like, they would have coffee and stuff when he'd come pick me up. Like, he wouldn't just wait outside and honk the horn. He'd come in, say hello to my mom, say hello to my stepdad. And at the time, I didn't appreciate it. But you know what kind of...
Really?
Yeah, because you're like, oh, cool, dad's here. But looking back, it's like, you know what kind of person that takes to come in and act like no big deal.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And then my mom, no matter what, I know they have their issues, and my dad was kind of all over the place when we were younger, and I didn't know that. My mom never once said anything to me growing up.
Wow.
Never, your dad's this or that.
Yeah.
And that had a monumental effect. So I'm still very close to all of them. But I was closer to my mom growing up because my brother, who's only a year younger than me, he's a great, great dude. I love my brother. He's the best. He's also the kind of dude that's just like the kind of guy that brings the party wherever he goes.
Yeah.
And that's definitely my dad's side of the family. And he's been like that ever since we were kids.
Little.
Right. And I'm not, I was always been a little bit more low key. So my dad, that's my brother. And so he's always a good time. My brother's the best. But that resonated more with my dad than my personality. So just because of our personalities, I gravitated more towards my mom and my brother more towards my dad. As I've gotten older, and more importantly, as my dad's gotten older, and I'm always calling to check in on him, we've grown tighter as I've gotten older. Yeah.
Is he real like machismo where he can like not tell you, "Hey, I love you" and stuff like that, or is he open with his feelings?
He's open. He's open. He's not like I am with my kids. Like, I tell my kids I love them all the time.
Yeah.
He's not like that, but he definitely says he loves me, and we hug when we see each other. It's a hug, hello. It's not a handshake, you know. So he's good. He's not. I won't say, especially for someone growing up in that era, he's pretty good. Yeah, showing affection.
I always find it really. I was born here, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like third generation on my dad's side and like fourth generation on my mom's side.
Gotcha.
So we're Mexican, but we're.
Did you grow up speaking Spanish or no?
No.
Just straight
Dude,
English?
Yeah, dude. Because it was crazy. Because like when we were growing up, when my grandparents were growing up, that was a no-go. Like you don't you're American. Like, you know what I mean? You're American. You speak English. You assimilate. You're gray man syndrome type deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because yes, African Americans had a hard time, but really any person of color had a hard time anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that was kind of like my grandparents spoke it, read it, listened to music, sang it, all that stuff. But their kids and us, the grandkids, like, nah, dude, it was obsolete. But I always my great grandparents, they came over on train. You know what I mean? So like they came from Mexico and Texas, through Texas and stuff, and fought, in the the Mexican American War. And
That's
stuff
crazy,
for
man.
Mexico, you know what I mean? So it's like, but to say stuff like, oh, I'm gonna go to another country, and I'm just gonna see how it goes.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible.
It's crazy, man.
And it's like, it's just crazy.
With nothing, bro.
Nothing.
Yeah, they
With
had
nothing
nothing.
but hopes and dreams.
That's it, man. It's
and
crazy.
a can-do attitude.
Yep,
And
that's right.
It's just like, dang, dude. It's pretty, and I think that's what makes America so great is that it's full of people that have the spirit of adventure.
Absolutely.
That pilgrimage.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's the literally, in my
pioneer
opinion,
spirit.
yeah. What our foundational motto was, right? That's exactly what this country is built on.
Yeah.
And people who are willing to do that kind of thing. So yeah, I agree with you.
Dude. So fast forward a bit.
Mm-hmm.
We're anything in particular during your whole OCS and
man,
memorable or
absolutely, very much so. I mean, look, man, you got to think very few people go into the military with absolutely no idea. Okay, so I'm about to put out some pretty embarrassing stuff out there to the world. Okay, all right. So my my Oso, man, she didn't tell me anything about what OCS was going to be like. And I don't blame her. I think she just assumed that right? Like you have some basic concept of what a boot camp type experience is like. But she was wrong in my case. I had zero clue what to expect. So we go through this thing. Man, they do the pickup equivalent, right? You're there 3 days. It's a whole cluster. And then on the third day, that's when shit hits the fan. And the sergeant instructors, they don't call them drill instructors for the officers. Sergeant instructors come in, and they're losing their shit, screaming at you. All your stuff's getting thrown everywhere. You know how that goes, right? That hit me like a freaking brick wall, bro.
out of your comfort zone.
Man, I had zero clue. I never had anybody get after me like that. And
so did you feel like disrespected? You're like, what's up, dog?
No, I felt like I just didn't even know what the hell I got myself into, right? And at the time, bro, here's the craziest thing. This is why I'm going to embarrass myself. I believed that that's the way that it was going to be for my entire time in the Marine Corps, right? Like, I thought 4 years of this shit was what I was thinking in my head, right? Which in retrospect was crazy. Every time I tell someone that story, they're like, I can't believe you stayed in. You thought that's what you were going to be doing all the time? I was like, yeah. Like here's the thing, man. I just kept thinking. I wanted, because the way that it works for officers, I don't know if you knew this. After the fourth week, you can DOR, bro. You can ask to go and you're good. They'll let you go.
Dang, just like that.
Just like that. You could just drop on request. And because the whole premise is they don't want you leading Marines if you don't want to be there. And I buy into that. But after that 4th week, I was like, man, this is terrible. I don't want to do this for another 4 years. But I remember thinking, like, I can't go home and tell my friends and family that I couldn't do it.
Oh, dude, that's worse.
And yeah, right. And that, honestly, that kept me in. It kept me through, luckily, because, you know, it turned out being fantastic, a great experience. Bro, but I'll tell you a great story. I'm not going to use this dude's name because I don't know if he's out there, but the first, after pickup, man, there were so many people there that were like, what the hell is this? There was this one small candidate, and this dude was clearly like, what the fuck did I just get myself into? So he says to, and the sergeant instructor at the time, who was our head sergeant instructor, lead guy, kind of the dude, right? And he's great. I stay in touch with him. He retired as sergeant major. We stayed close throughout my Marine Corps career. He was freaking knife handing everybody, laying it down. And this dude says, you know, you got to give the whole spiel. Good morning, Gunnery Sergeant candidate so-and-so requests permission to speak to Gunnery Sergeant so-and-so in private. And Gunnery Sergeant says, Gunnery Sergeant M, I'm going to just call him Gunnery Sergeant M. He says, anything you got to say, you can say it in front of all your brothers, right? So nobody's giving a shit about what's going on with this dude. We're just trying to survive. Like, we're just, all the other two sergeant instructors are knife handing everybody, throwing shit everywhere. Yeah, it's chaos. And he's like, can I have a side conference? Just real quick. And he's like, bro, it was afterwards, I was dying. Like, once shit calmed down, I was dying thinking about this. So he goes, Gunnery Sergeant, this candidate believes he's made a mistake. This dude, no shit, right? And I just remember, you know now, at the time you don't know, but there's no way that Gunnery Sergeant M wasn't dying inside, laughing, bro. There's no way. Some dude's telling you this shit in front of all this chaos. There's no way. And he's like, well, too bad, you're stuck, right? And keeps it moving. Bro, the night, that evening, the fire watch is going crazy. Alarms start blaring, all this nonsense, right? The count is out. This dude's missing. We're missing this cat. So you gotta everybody gets woken up. We gotta all go out in our skivvies to the parade deck and freaking formation. They're doing head counts, and we're standing out there not knowing what the hell's going on for like 2 hours. Yeah. Turns out, this cat, man, he wanted to get out so bad in Quantico. There's a Potomac there. You ever been out there in Quantico, bro? There's honestly this big ass river, that's like, it's like the border between, like Virginia, DC kind of thing. Okay. You know, and it's there. Yeah. And you cannot leave the base without going through the gate, right? It's impossible unless you get across the Potomac. There's a way to get through. This cat, man, blew up trash bags, stuffed them in his trousers, and tried to swim across the Potomac.
Hell yeah.
Bro, that cat didn't even make it. I don't think he made it 100 meters. We almost died of hypothermia. They had to pull him in.
Anything besides
bro. That drill instructor. And then he got sent home. I never saw him again after that. But I just remember thinking, like,
he's like, I made a mistake.
Yeah, I made a mistake. So OCS was a trip, man. And finding out that wasn't the way that it went was definitely a relief, right? That wasn't going to be my next 4 years. For sure. Was good, but it was crazy because we started my platoon, bro. Sorry, we had 73 dudes we started with. 32 graduated.
That's insane.
Yeah, bro. It was just, they were chop people because the program at the time, you got to think, this is 2004. So we're right in it. You know, the invasion of Iraq just happened the year before. We're in the fight. We're also in Afghanistan. So the screening to become an officer candidate wasn't the most stringent thing. So you had people there that had no business leading Marines at any point. So the attrition rate was, they were axing people left and right.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Would you, overall, though, it was a good experience?
Yeah, of course. Now that you have the perspective, you understand why things are done the way they're done, and it's of course it's the way it has to happen. You're trying to screen people. It's purposeful
Yeah.
that they have that level of attrition. It's purposeful that they give you the option to leave on request, to voluntarily leave. They need people who are going to be motivated to get better, who are going to be willing to sacrifice themselves for their Marines. That's the type of leader you try to get. Now, look, like anywhere else, we're not always successful on that, unfortunately. But the vast majority of times we are. We are, as an organization, we are successful. So I do think it was a good experience. It was a transformative experience for me. So no regrets at all about my time there and in the Marine Corps overall.
That's what's up, dude.
Yeah.
What and then from there, so you graduate, you go on there.
Yeah, I graduate. I go back to law school. So that was the deal. I was PLC law. I finished OCS. I go back to law school, and while I'm in law school, I'm a reservist.
Okay.
But I'm in the IRR.
So were you a lawyer, like a air quote lawyer going in?
Yeah, I was a PLC law contract.
Okay.
So I had to go to law school.
PLC stands for
a platoon leaders course. It's
Okay.
where they send like the people who haven't graduated their. Usually it's college, but PLC law is you graduated college, so you get commissioned, but you can't start your active duty until you're done law school and all that. And it's cool though because the Marine Corps is the only service, man. This is one of the big things that appealed to me, and definitely no regret about this because I got to do stuff that none of my colleagues would ever get a chance to do. The Marine Corps is the only service where lawyers are unrestricted officers. Right, so like I have to go to TBS. I had to go to TBS just like everybody else did, the basic school, which is a 6-month platoon commander, basic platoon commander course. Like you just learn the basics about platoon commander, infantry platoon commander, and there's no other service where the lawyers do that. Which is why, dropping some Judge Advocate knowledge here, why Marine Corps lawyers are not JAGs, because JAG is a corps, meaning it's a corps within the individual militaries, right? So the Navy JAG, the Judge Advocate General, and the lawyers in there, it's a JAG corps. Where in the Marine Corps, Judge Advocates, it's just their MOS. So you're a Marine officer who's a lawyer, an MOS.
You're a rifleman first.
Yeah, right. And look, man, I'm not pretending I was kicking down any doors, right?
Sure.
Right, but I had a qual just like everybody else. The Marine Corps is the only branch that does that.
Yeah.
And that's very appealing to people like me. I think that if you're gonna go in, I mean, why else go in the military then?
Dude, I'm with you, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're doing.
People ask me, young guys will ask me, should I join? What do you think? And I'm like, yo, man, like, are you willing to give it all? Like, and they're like, I'm like, well, like, he's like, well, what do you mean? Like, are you willing to die for your country? And if he says no, don't do it.
Then don't do it.
Then don't do it, dude.
Don't do
because you could, meet your maker.
Yeah.
In your duration of your military service.
Bro, and that's a tough question that you put to people, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
Because I think you have to have that mentality.
Yeah.
To be successful, especially in the Marine Corps, because you'll see. I mean, you're a prime example of this, Julian. The most selfless acts I've ever seen in my life have been by Marines. And I think
And spouses.
brother, that goes without saying.
Yeah.
To me, if you're married to a Marine, whatever he or she does, you might as well count yourself right in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's who makes it run, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't do anything as a Marine if you didn't have support.
That's a fact.
Yeah. So
Period.
exactly.
Period. You know what I mean? Like there's and like there's I always look at like the spouses and being like, dude, you know what I mean? You are like that is, and then to have a family while a service, it's like what?
Bro, and conversely though, 90%, and unfortunately, because I've seen these, and I'm throwing out numbers, right? So don't quote me on the numbers,
for sure.
but
A
the
lot of people.
the vast majority, and I can say that with some confidence. Let me not throw out some made up numbers, right? The vast majority of Marines who have had issues, you can trace some measure of instability. You can trace that back to some measure of instability in their home life.
Wow.
For better or for worse, man. I can't think of many Marines, maybe a handful, where they had a stable family life and got involved in some kind of misconduct. And for much of my career, I dealt the bottom 10% was my 100%.
Yeah.
You know, that's who I was dealing with for a lot of my career. So, yeah, man. So you're not kidding. There's a definite correlation between stable family life and success in the Marine Corps. And that doesn't necessarily mean only spouse, right? Because there's a lot of Marines that aren't married. You don't have to be married to have a stable family life. But the people you surround yourself with, friendships, extended family, the more stability you have there, the greater the likelihood that you're going to be successful and be able to move through your career without falling into any misconduct or having any issues.
Interesting, man. I think that I was talking about this yesterday, and some guy asked me, he was like, hey man, like what like attributes your ability to kind of turn the corner with the blast? You know what I mean? Like how did you seem to be thriving, and in many regards I do thrive, but I still deal with my own, like my own mess and stuff like that, dude. I just got done doing the counseling. But I said, hey man, like the biggest thing I could ever tell anybody is like finding a buddy. Luckily for me, mine lives with me. You know what I mean? Ashley's awesome, but I also have you. I also have like, you know what I mean?
Oh, I appreciate that, brother. That means a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And we have these like little circle of friends and peers that's like, dude, they're always.
I mean, it's key, man.
It's essential, dude.
Dude, it's like remember you and I were talking, and in the question you asked me before, like, what would I tell my kids?
Yeah.
And I told you the biggest piece of advice I could give them is make sure that the people you surround yourself with, the people you bring into your inner circle, are good people. Because in my opinion, man, life is about the relationships we build. If you think about the successes you've had in your life, and you've been a person who's had plenty of successes, you're going to think that the greatest successes that you've had have meant the most because you've been able to share them with the people you love, the people you care about. If you think about that, I can't think of one huge success that I've had in my life that had value without being able to share with someone. Now, there are many things that we do and accomplish for ourselves. I'm not saying get things for other people, but being able to share the happiness, the joy of whatever it is that you do with your spouse, your friend, your brother, that's what brings it meaning. If you were sitting in a room by yourself, congratulating yourself for your accomplishment,
and just hit,
and that's it,
summited Everest,
you're by yourself, that's great. But any joy, if you had any joy in that, it would be fleeting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna quote our mutual friend, Professor Doug. Right? It's not even joy. It's just because fleeting moments aren't considered joy, right? It's just happiness. I think any significant joy that you have is based on the people you are with, the relationships that you have. But you have to choose wisely because, as you and I have discussed, unfortunately, this world, there's a lot of bad people.
Yeah.
That's why I think you have to value the good ones when you have them, and foster and nurture those relationships, man, because they're rare. They're rare.
Do you think there's bad people, or do you think that there's people that aren't being expected to be their best?
Well, I think they're both, but I'll tell you now. Granted, keep in mind the perspective that I have here. Most of my time as a lawyer has been.
This is interesting because, like,
yeah, I'm dealing in the criminal law realm. Even in the Marine Corps, I spent a good amount of time as either a prosecutor or a defense counsel. So, unfortunately, I've met some outstanding people, but I've also met some people who I think are just bad people. Yeah, and I think there are bad people, man.
For sure.
I think there are some people who, yes, it's that they are only living up to the expectations that are set of them, and those expectations are low, which is why they act the way they do and they do the things that they do. I do think that, not because they're bad people. There are those folks. But there's also people who are just generally crappy human beings. Yeah. And even if they're not monsters, they're crappy human beings. It doesn't have to be at the end of the spectrum, but it's like there's nothing I can do with you. And I've always said that, man. If you are a good person, any other deficiencies you're dealing with, we can figure that out. Yeah. If you're not,
that's a policy issue.
Yes, that's easy. But if you are a shitty human being, I can't do anything with you,
dude. So how do you look somebody in the eye and be like, I'm gonna give you my best defense, if you know they're guilty.
Yes.
If you know that they're pieces of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you muster? Like, how do you? I mean, that.
Yeah, man, that's a great question. It's a great question. And here's what I'll tell you. So first things first, in the Marine Corps especially, okay, because that's most of my defense counsel time, all of it has been as a Marine. I've never been a defense counsel outside of the Marine Corps. But it was a great time. I loved being a defense counsel in the Marine Corps. Defending Marines was one of the best things I did during my time on active duty. 90% of those folks that I saw, again, this is some BS numbers, the vast majority of folks were guilty of something.
For sure.
But they were not guilty of the trash that they were being charged with, okay? They were guilty of something, just not that. So I say that to say that is what you need to focus on when you're defending someone. That's what I did. It's not about the person. It's about the system. There's a responsibility that we have to the system, everybody that's involved. A responsibility that we have to the Constitution. And that sounds hokey, but that resonates with me.
Yeah,
it means a lot to me. That document means a lot to me. And if you are going to send someone away, take away their liberty, you have a responsibility to have your stuff squared away. Right? And that's what I would attack. It wasn't about whether this person was innocent or guilty. It's about like, hey, is the government doing their job? And if you're not doing your job, I'm going to hold you accountable. I'll tell you about this case, and it's no big deal. I've spoken publicly about this a bunch of times, but it'll illustrate the point. I was a military defense counsel in the Gallagher case for Eddie Gallagher. And a lot of people always got wrapped up on what guilt or innocence with Eddie. And I'll tell you, that case was fraught with issues. Man, I'm telling you, it was one of the most. I've never been so offended by a case, the way a case is investigated and prosecuted, etc. And that was my concern the entire time. To me, if you're an American who cares about our rights, the system of justice that we have, at least the way it's supposed to work, then that case should be something that you would be like, no, we can't do it.
It just looked a mess.
It was
like you couldn't even follow it because you were just like, what's going on here?
It was a mess. So people always got so wrapped up. Well, you don't know. I'm like, to me, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter because you cannot condemn someone to life in prison with this level of, and I don't want to attack anyone, but I'll say deficiency. Okay, I'll call it deficiencies in an investigation. In a prosecutorial case. And I'm not even blaming any of the prosecutors themselves in the way this is carried out, but the entire thing was abhorrent, man. The entire thing. You're like, we can't be Americans. We can't believe in the institution and say this is okay. And that was my perspective the entire time. And there were a couple cases where the person was innocent. Where the person was I truly believe that the individuals was innocent. And most of those cases.
And that's not even saying that beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, I think.
You just know for flat out.
Yes.
You did not do
There's one case I had. Marine was convicted of sexual assault. He was my client. I truly believe he's innocent. And it got overturned. The appellate court said there wasn't enough facts. The jury, military members convicted the individual. Marine corporal convicted him. And the appellate court, thank God, saw the evidence, was like, nope, you couldn't possibly find that he was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Wow.
But that doesn't always happen like that.
That Marine was like,
yeah, but dude, he still had to spend, that process takes time, so he was still in the brig for almost 3 years.
As a sex offender.
As a sex offender in the brig. I mean, now the brig, it's not
San Quentin.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
But it's jail.
Yeah.
You're in prison.
Yeah.
So yeah, man.
You're being escorted everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you're not.
Bro, being a defense counsel in the Marine Corps gave me unbelievable perspective on that. Because prior to that, I'd just been a prosecutor. Yeah. Never. So my thing was like, no, hammer them. If you're here, something must be up. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So it's good that the Marine Corps makes you do that because that's not the way it works, man. Like in the civilian world, you're either a prosecutor or a defense counsel, and never the two shall meet.
Really?
Meaning, like, you won't do, very rare do you do on both sides. You usually pick one. This is where your personal values sit, and that's what you do for the next whatever many years. Where in the Marine Corps, they don't care where your value lies. You're doing both, and that experience is invaluable, bro. Invaluable.
So we'll just say for simple math, 20 years in.
Yeah.
What are you taking away from that, man? And then you're still a young guy, dude. I mean, you got a lot more time left. Like, what are you?
Yeah,
what do you
I
take
appreciate
with
that,
you?
bro.
You know what I mean? Like, what do you?
Yeah. So here's the thing: my Marine Corps experience has had nothing but positive effects on me. But I want to be honest and forthright about my relationship with the Marine Corps. I believe wholeheartedly the Marines really, really care about Marines.
That's a fact.
I don't think the institution particularly cares about Marines. And look, I'm not mad at the institution because
you're just saying facts.
And it's got to right. If the institution fell apart every time a Marine left, it couldn't keep running. It wouldn't be as effective. But I say that because you have to go in with eyes wide open, bro. And then I'll answer your question after I give you this anecdote. We all believe, especially if we've had some success in the Marine Corps, that like, hey, that's for everybody else. But the institution, they care about me because I'm productive. I do stuff for the institution, make it better. And I definitely felt that way when I was getting out, 2020, which not that long ago. I remember really grappling, bro. Sleepless nights. Felt like I was letting the team down. I just got selected to lieutenant colonel at that time. So it was like, what are you doing? Why are you getting out? You've already been in 15 years.
Yeah.
This is it. But they wanted me to move, and my family's already rooted here, right? Like a lot of Marines, right? My family was all in on the ocean side. They weren't feeling moving anymore, and I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Feeling Japan.
No, and I think I was gonna go back to Carolina MACTAF, which was fine, but they were just here.
Yeah.
So there was some the Marine Corps traditionally is unconcerned with what's going on with your family. So,
for sure.
And that's the way it goes, right? We all know that when we get in. So I'm not mad, but bro, I'll never forget this. At the time when I was in active duty, I was working at a section where it was a lieutenant colonel, me, captain. I was a major at the time. Lieutenant colonel, me, the major, or captain, and 4 Marines, 4 enlisted Marines. 2 lance corporals, corporal, and a master sergeant. Okay, that's it. That was our whole section. Super small. The guy who's the SJ to CMC, who I worked for before, is coming to do doing the world tour. You know how they do the world tour sometimes. He's coming to our office to see what's up. And I'm like sitting there dreading him coming because I'm struggling. I feel like he's going to be disappointed. The Marine Corps needs me. This is the way I'm feeling. And I'm abandoning.
Because you're special.
Yeah, and I'm like, I help out the team, and I'm abandoning the team when they need me, right? And by implication, if you think someone needs you, you think you're special, right?
Right.
And I'm thinking this, and I'm just struggling internally. So he comes, and I'm like nervous and thinking I'm gonna have to explain. And I'm already thinking about like maybe I should just stay in, right?
Right. Just to avoid this.
And thinking like, am I doing the right thing? I shouldn't let the team down like this. He shows up, says what's up to everybody, talks to all the Marines, talking to all of us, and we're all in the room, and he goes to the captain. Hey, how are you doing? And the captain says, sir, I'd be a lot better if Major Candelario wasn't getting out. Now, mind you, bro, not only are we in this small-ass section, but my MOS is not big, small, and we're short on field grade officers, and I worked for this dude, like, for a year. Like, we know each other. It's not like he doesn't know me. He goes, you're getting out? I'm a week away from leaving.
Wow.
So I'm like, no one even cared enough to say to him, by the way, out of these freaking 3 officers that we're going to see, one of them is leaving. Not even to give him a heads up in case you want to say something. And I remember at that time, I wasn't mad, but I remember thinking like, that was it. I was done agonizing. I'm like, no, why am I sweating this? The institution is not concerned. It's just next man up. Next man up. And I say that to say, like, I understand that, but organizational wise, that is how it's difficult to keep people when that's the way that you present yourself from a leadership perspective. The Marine Corps is fantastic, bro. It's made me the man I am. I'm very grateful. But that was a hard lesson learned for me. Like, the institution is not concerned. Individual Marines, yes. People that I build relationships with, they called me. Like, you sure? It's going to be sad to see you go. But the institution, it's like, later. Next guy up. Yeah. And, bro, I came back because I stayed in the reserves. I came back to the office. Not shortly thereafter, the one that I was losing sleep over. And sure as hell, like, Marines said what's up, and it was great to see them, but business as usual. It all kept, and that's the way it should be.
Did that hurt?
Yeah, that shit hurt, man, and it stayed. It hurt mostly because you just think it's an illusion, but I always thought, like, yeah, I get it that the Marine Corps, but that's them, that's everybody, not me. I'm over here. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna keep it going. And that's an illusion, bro. That is an illusion. So it's like getting any other illusion that you've had shattered. If you think about it, like, there's some parallels to this, to finding out, I don't know, like Santa Claus or something that you believed. Right.
Santa Claus, what? That's news to me.
So, but
the elf is on the shelf, dog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's looking at us. He's judging. But that said, man, the Marine Corps, I'm eternally grateful. Because the people I have met there, the values instilled in me from the Marine Corps, certainly made me the person I am today. It's made me like the leader, the father, the friend. It's just the influence. I cannot overstate how much of an influence the Marine Corps has had on me and continues to have. With all that said, it's been an amazing journey, and one, like many Marines that say this, I've always thought I'd be a one tour guy, right? But then you just keep doing it until you no longer feel like you are contributing to the team or that the team needs you. And once you reach that moment, man, absent a situation where it's just a different circumstances, or the circumstances themselves push you out, even though you feel like you can still contribute to the team, which I know that's for you. You definitely sure, felt that way.
Oh, yeah, for sure, dude. I left knowing that I had a lot more fight left in me.
But, dude, that's your story is a great example of what I'm talking about, bro.
Yeah.
Like, people that don't know your story, and it's your story to tell, but I'll say that when we've discussed it before, that is a great example of the institution just being not, you got to look at the Marine, man.
Yeah.
And look at the talent that we have and what we need. Now, I'll tell you this, that, I don't want to monopolize this, but the new Commandant, General Smith at all?
No, I mean.
Dude, I can't say enough great things about him. I worked for him. I was in Afghanistan. I was his lawyer. And he is one of the most outstanding individuals I have ever come across.
Really?
Dude, he's at the top of my list.
You don't make it that way.
Well, I don't know, man, because there's people, there's people that rise. I'm not saying, I didn't know any of the past commandants. I'm not speaking about in particular, but there's people that rise that just
know how to play the game.
Yeah. I mean, that's a reality. If you
That's true.
100%. I know that. I know that for a fact. I can tell you that General Smith is not one of them, man. So, and he cares. He legitimately gives a shit, which is always what you want in your leader. So we'll see. I'm looking, now from a reservist perspective, which is a much different eye, but looking to see what's going to happen with the Corps and where the Commandant's going to take us.
Hell yeah, man. What I mean, you've seen bottom of the barrel that you're 100% is everybody's 10%.
Yeah.
Which is pretty legit saying, you know what I mean? That kind of puts everything like, ooh,
Well, bro, because it's hard. You got to tell yourself that it's only 10% Marine Corps, because when you're seeped in that, particularly when I was a supervisor, and you got brand new officers who this is their first tour, and all they're seeing is all the Marines committing misconduct that are coming to our door. You start losing faith, bro. So I always constantly had to remind them, like, this is not the Marine Corps. The vast majority of Marines are outstanding people.
Yeah.
This is the 10%, bro. That's just our 100%. That's why you think it's so terrible. So yeah, man, that could get difficult after a while.
And let's see, man. What would you say from your time, dude, in the military, being a reservist? You're talking to a guy who's about to get out, or transition, or a guy who's having trouble transitioning, turning that corner. What would you like? How did you do it, man? How did you shift gears, dude? How did you?
Well, bro, let me tell you this.
And then be like, not like to shift gears and not be. That's legit. That's legit. Dude, I'm I'm allergic to cats.
Oh, you are?
No.
Yeah.
Good. But cats know that, I think.
Because that's why they come to you.
And they're like, "What's up, dog?" I'm
yeah,
like,
we just for everybody listening, we just got straight interrupted by my cat, and I hate cats, bro.
Do you?
Yeah, but my kids got me. They suckered me into it. But here we are. Yeah.
Yeah. But dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, but what were you saying?
Because I was watching the cat play around in the grass and stuff, and I was like,
she's coming this way. She spotted you, dog. So, yeah.
But because dude, like you seem to be very methodical and you know what I mean, and shift gears and stuff like that, dude. And I don't know if you've had trouble.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
100% I have.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult not to have trouble, irrespective of whether or not. Of course, it's going to be. Let me step back here. Of course, if you have dealt with trauma while you have been a military member, significant trauma, and you're dealing with things like PTSD, that adds a whole level of difficulty, right? But I think even if you don't have that, it's still very difficult because you're going from a situation where every single day of your life is essentially scheduled to some degree.
Right.
Right? And you don't even realize that as much, and I don't know if you felt the same way, but I didn't even realize that much until I was out that was the case. Because to me, that's just the way it goes. That, for instance, you have morning PT whatever day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6:30. You don't think that's not normal, right? Right. Most organizations, you're not going in at a mandatory PT event, or you got to be here for this or whatever. Every year you got to do X, Y, and Z training. That stuff is pretty regimented. So going from that to something that is completely unknown and no one's going to be telling you this is what you're going to do is scary.
Yeah.
It is scary.
My biggest thing was not telling anybody where I was going.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, bro,
Bro, I mean, bro, everybody that's been in the military for any meaningful period does that. I mean, the first year I was out, I kept telling my boss, sending them requests, leave requests, essentially, until they were like, just put it on your calendar. Stop telling me that. I was like, oh, my bad. So that's normal, right?
I still catch myself texting friends, yo, bro, I'm headed out of town.
I mean, I think that's normal, man. It's ingrained in for a reason, right? Because that works in the military. I think the biggest advice I would give people is, number one, first and foremost, and I've said this to you in different contexts before, give yourself some grace, man. You got to understand, don't be too hard on yourself if you don't immediately snap into whatever you're doing next. That was difficult to do. I'm giving advice that was hard for me to follow, man. Wow. You come in with an expectation of yourself that you assign to everyone else. You assume that everyone else has the same expectation of you that you have of you. And that's just not correct. So if you're not automatically firing on all cylinders the moment you step through the door in whatever new thing you're doing, it's difficult not to be hard on yourself and criticize yourself. Give yourself some grace. Okay? Allow yourself to learn. I'm telling you, man, to me, I wish someone sat me down and said that to me. It would have made my transition significantly easier, less stressful.
But dude, give yourself some grace is That's across the board, dog.
Come on, man. It's life.
You know what I mean?
You know?
Hey, give yourself a pat on the back. You're
Bro,
doing all right.
It's like you and I talked about this when you got your blue belt, right? And understandably, the way you were feeling resonated with me because we do that. And we're not going to talk about jiu-jitsu because we're out of time. But I can talk jiu-jitsu. I love jiu-jitsu.
We can talk jiu-jitsu
Yeah,
all day.
but all day. But it's the same thing. Your expectations of what you should be doing, what you should know, were overwhelming, and you felt like you weren't meeting those expectations.
Correct. I wasn't ready. I wasn't,
Yeah, and even if it was only on a subconscious level, you probably assigned those expectations to other people around you.
For sure. I look at some blue belts and I'm like, yo, bro, you're a fucking beast.
Yeah, and look, man, I think we do that, especially military members, man, because if you've been successful in the military, you're a high performer. And as a high performer, that's the bar that you have in all aspects of your life. You expect that you're going to get in and start freaking crushing it. And when you don't do that right away, you can be critical. You can be critical of yourself.
Oh, dude, that's been me, dude.
Yeah.
All the time.
That's standard, man.
Yeah.
That's standard. So that's my number one advice. And the second piece of advice, which coincides with kind of the theme of what we've been discussing here, is you have to. I mean, have to. This is a must, shall, whatever mandatory language you want to use here. Have to lean on the people around you for support. That's another aspect of things we do. Again, bro, this is all hindsight advice.
Right.
We take this on. We take stuff on by ourselves a lot.
All the time, dude.
All the time, man. And I don't give a crap like
I don't care.
What's your sex, race, ethnicity,
creed,
sexual orientation, sex, how gender identity, whatever it is. If you are a military member, this characteristic likely applies to you, where you just take stuff on by yourself, shoulder in the world, and that is difficult to do in a situation where you are not performing to the extent that you expect to perform. We can do that if you're in the military still, especially if you're kicking butt, taking names. You could keep operating that way for a prolonged period of time, because you're like, I know what I'm doing, so I'll take it all on. Even though I don't think it's healthy in that context either.
No.
But you can do that. That is nearly impossible to do when you're trying to learn something new, when you're trying to figure your way out through whatever new endeavor you're going through. And then in addition to that, just try to take on all the burdens that you normally take on in situations where you're comfortable and you understand everything you're doing. That is folly, man. That is a mistake, in my opinion. And you're setting yourself up for failure. And it's so simple. I won't say easy, right? Because it is difficult to ask for help because you have to overcome these internal feelings. But it is simple. It's not complex.
Oh, dude, but sometimes it's in your throat.
It won't come out because it's difficult, but it's simple. And man, I'll tell you, luckily I did get past that threshold, and where I looked to or where I sought out support, and it wasn't people I was particularly close to, but they were former Marines. Well, Marines, we never really a former Marine, right? Yeah, but they were Marines who gotten out many, many years ago, but happened to be working in my office. And I just went in like, look, I'm struggling.
Yeah, can I bend your ear a little bit?
Yes. And look, to the person, all receptive, all helpful, no one judging, all similar feelings, could identify with what I was feeling with. And man, just steered me the right way. I worked for this person who she was a 05 in the Navy. Told her, hey, here's the deal. This is where my strong suits are, but I'm doing all this stuff I've never done before.
And she was a JAG, right?
Yeah. And she was like, this is where but she was a civilian at that point, right? She'd been for a while. And she was money in the bank. Just like, here, I get where you're coming from. This is what you need to focus on. I'll help you with this. And took the extra time. And I have found that almost everyone who you go to in that manner wants to help you, wants to see you succeed.
For sure.
But I don't know if we know that going in. In fact, I'm pretty sure that we don't, that we feel like we're on our own and we got to just figure it out and do it ourselves. So those are the two biggest pieces of advice I would say, man. Give yourself some grace and make sure that you reach out to support, ask for help. Simple.
And be there to help people out.
Dude, that's the way it works, man. It is a chain, right? You end up paying it forward. I mean, I can't tell you how fortunate I've been to be able to do the very same thing that I'm describing to you, that someone did to me, to do that for someone else as they transition out. And that's the thing, because you know where they're coming from. So, yeah, man, 100%.
I got this weird inkling to ask you, like, what does it mean to all this, man, to this life? What would you say? What's the meaning to this?
Yeah, and that's a hard question, bro. You and I have had some great conversations about this. And look, just like everybody else in this world, I don't have all the answers. So I can tell you what
it's over, bro.
Yeah, that's
you
it.
Ain't got all the answers.
I don't got all the answers, right? But to me, man, their primary meaning to life is to leave it to, and this sounds simple, but leave the world better than what it was when you came into it, right? So, and the way that you do that is, one, as I keep harping, is by fostering meaningful relationships, because those connections that we build, right, that's what gives meaning, purpose.
Right.
And two, trying every day, and I say trying because we're not successful in this. I know I haven't been all my life, but I try to be a good person, man. To be a good person. The world right now, there is a dearth of good people. Right, we are in such turmoil.
That's a good adjective, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We are in such turmoil as not only as a country, but right now, I think globally, we're just struggling as a species in many respects, man. I'm telling you, bro. I feel that way. You look at the news, and I get it. Bad things have happened throughout history, but I feel like right now, goodness gracious, maybe it's because the focus is on bad things. Maybe it's because the level of access that we have to information is at its zenith right now. It's the highest it's ever been. But man, it just feels like so many bad things are happening, and I just think we need a bigger effort and emphasis on the value of being a good person, of caring about each other, kind of thing. And it doesn't have to be saving the world, bro. I'm not saying go out there and be Mother Teresa. No, that's not unrealistic expectations. You have responsibilities. If you were just out, not supporting your family, if everybody just quit their jobs, that's not realistic. But just in the way that you interact with people, a kind word here and there, that's realistic and simple and costs you nothing. And again, I'm not always successful, bro.
Dude,
I'm not always successful.
Dude, the other day, we're on short time, man.
Yeah, no worries at all. No worries at all, brother.
We're wrapping this up, but the other day I was at Walmart, and I saw this lady, man. She was reaching for this bag of like shredded cheese.
Yeah.
And it was in the very back. She couldn't reach it. And I was dealing with our kids, and then I found her, and I was like, "Hey, did you need help?" And she said, "Oh, thank you. Yes, I did." Because she grabbed like 6 other bags.
Yeah, she couldn't get it.
Yeah, because she couldn't get it.
Yeah.
So I just went over there, dude, and I swapped it out for her, and she was just like overwhelmed, dude. Like, thank you. And I was like, dude, that didn't cost me anything.
No.
But I saw her. I couldn't give it to her at the time because I was dealing with my kids, dude. But it's like, dang, dog, you know what I mean? Like, and I do think, I agree with you, that the perception is that we're headed down a dark road. And maybe you're right. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a scary time.
I hope not. I hope I'm wrong.
No, like, like maybe you're right. You know what I mean? Like, it definitely does look that way. But I also want to say that, like 99% of my interactions is good.
That's great, man.
You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to like it's not true, but maybe what it is that we're just hyper focused on the negative.
That might be true, man. That might be true.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like a giant, like whoa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because statistically, like everything's been safer.
Yeah. I mean, I believe you. I believe you.
So it's like the life expectancy has been the longest it's ever been.
I think and to your point, I have no doubt that that's true. But I think when I think about this, and it's admittedly a pessimistic view, I admit that. It's like the capabilities that we have in today's world, the way that things are, the level of safety, the level of cooperation, the level of friendships that we have in all areas, while they probably may be at the peak that they've ever been, relative to what we're capable of, they seem low to me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like right now we have the ability, like our ability to communicate with people, it's never been what it is now.
Correct. Yeah.
Our ability to transcend distances with respect to communications and travel and like just with respect to building relationships and connections, it's like nothing it's ever been before. And still we have these struggles, man. It's who knows, man. I think what, if everybody just did jiu-jitsu, we'd be good.
For sure.
Yeah.
I say that, dude. It's like if person XYZ would just do some physical activity, strenuous physical activity, chances are you would be not wanting to go shoot up a school.
Yeah.
Or you not want to do. You would just be too tired.
You just,
dude.
You'd be
too tired.
I mean, you're not joking, bro. And I know we're wrapping this up, but I'll say, the cool thing about that, though, the one good thing about my perception of where we are now is that it makes me so grateful for the good people I do have in my life. And look, man, I make mistakes every day.
For sure.
You and I have talked about this, and I've made mistakes where I've said things where I'm like, oh, I handled that poorly.
Damn it.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, I just did that the other day with my sister-in-law, and I had to apologize to her. I think that's the thing that I've gotten and taken away most, though, out of all this is because I value my relationship so much, I am very much willing to humble myself and come forward and say, hey, I'm sorry. I screwed up. I don't know if I was always like that. In fact, I know I wasn't. As I was younger, there'd be a lot of pride, things like that involved. But that's because it was a failure to value the people in my life.
Really?
Yeah, because if you have value for someone, then you have no problems. Like you and I are friends.
True.
I appreciate you. So I have no issues if I'm jacked up or if I made a mistake saying to you, like essentially humbling myself to you because that's the value I have. Yeah. And conversely, if I think that you are wrong, I have no issues being like, Jules, I love you, man. You're my friend. But you're wrong here, bro.
Yeah.
You're wrong. And that's something that I think if we did a little bit more of, it doesn't mean we have to agree. You can be like, Nelson, I don't think I'm wrong. But like, it's all good, brother. But I love you
You're
still.
wrong,
Yeah. But those are just things that stick with me, man.
That's wild, man. I mean, there's a lot to think about, because I do think that you could value somebody and not have the emotional tools on how to apologize.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean? Or I think like apology is something that has to be taught, and it's only taught through modeled behavior.
Yeah,
I can't
think that's
say,
true.
hey Nelson, this is how you apologize.
No, that's true.
No, I would have to show you
how to do it,
and to be like, hey, I'm sorry. And if there's a but, hey, I'm sorry, but
then that is not an apology. That ain't an apology, bro.
You know what I mean?
Dude, but the thing about that, so let me rephrase because I think you're right. You might still value the person, but I don't think they will know that you value them. If you and I get into an argument where I'm wrong, and
it's like evident.
Yes, right, because it normally is, right? We're creatures of emotion. I'm definitely a creature of emotion. Sure. And I know I get hot, but the moment I calm down and take a step back, I'm like, okay, objectively, even if my point was valid, the way I handled that was poor. Yeah. I should have. If I don't have the tools to apologize, even if it's through no fault of my own, and I just leave it there, I don't see how you can know that I value you. Because from your perspective, it's got to be like, Nelson just freaking lit me up. Even he was wrong, but who cares? He just went off the handle. And he doesn't even care enough to be like, yo, my bad. And so while I agree with you, you're right. There are people that you have to have the tools. I do think that's true. And I don't disagree with you, though. So I might actually value you. But if I don't demonstrate
I don't know how to show it.
And if I don't and that's the problem. Because if I don't show it to you, then I'll show it. Then our relationships, you can't read minds.
True.
So our relationship is going to suffer. Even if we keep it going, it's going to suffer. Yeah.
Dang, Doug. Dog, you got to come back on for a part 2.
Bro, this has been, honestly, man, a true honor. I sincerely appreciate you. I honestly believe this. You are a great human being. And I love that we're friends. I love what you're doing here. I want you to know that I think this is important because there are people out there who are really struggling, man.
Yeah.
Just with life.
Dog, I mean, yeah, dude.
And we've all been there.
And
Shit.
we're all struggling.
Yeah, always. That's life. Life is, there's a lot of joy and greatness, but it's struggle. And putting out a message, letting people know how their tools and assisting them with how you can move forward with your life. Here, listen to someone who's done X, Y, and Z. Maybe this will help you. Or sometimes just, hey, if you want to take your mind on what you're dealing with, just sit down and listen to this conversation for a little bit. So you take a break. So I appreciate you, brother. I'll come back anytime. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, man, dude. Dude, I mean, normally I'm the one that acknowledges somebody, dude. So I sincerely appreciate it, dog.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Brother. Of course,
and,
brother.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much for being here, dude. Sincerely appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Peace. Thank you again to Nelson for sharing a little bit of his time and nuggets of wisdom with us. Thank you so much, listener, for lending me your ears. I'd like to take a second real quick and acknowledge the music in the background. That's from Smokestack 31, Mr. Adam Jones. And he's based out of Tennessee. He's an upcoming artist, and he's a good friend of mine. We served together in the Marine Corps, and I couldn't think of a better person to be on this track with us. So if you could give him a follow, I'll tag him in the show notes. And he's the one that brought us in, so he's going to be the one taking us out. All right, guys, don't forget to be kind to yourselves, be good to yourselves. You deserve it, and make sure that you're your best friend. And if you're not, hey, man, it's never too late to start. All right, you guys be good, be kind to yourselves, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.